What do you do if the weather gets scary?
Many RVers were caught in the significant storms throughout the Midwest.
Including us.
Yeah. So this week we've got some tips for staying safe while RVing when the weather gets angry.
While we're avoiding these storms, our guest Emily looks for storms and the weather we run from. She is fascinating.
Yeah, plus we visit the mother of all punsters at the Hillbilly Gardens, where they have a toilet Stonehenge
Called Thronehenge.
A lawnmower version of the Cadillac Ranch.
And so much more.
You gotta see this place.
We have this week's podcast along with notes and stories that go with this episode, deals, discounts, helpful tips, and more at our home on the web at StressLessCamping.com.
And of course, so you don't miss out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And boy, do we appreciate you being with us on this fun adventure.
Thanks for joining us for episode 302. He's Tony.
Oh yeah, and she's Peggy.
Yeah, we're two RV industry veterans who travel part-time in a mini light, looking to share big adventures and help you with great tips,
tricks,
and discounts.
Last few days, we were in Tennessee.
Well, we were in Tennessee. We were in Kentucky, where the tornadoes were, right along with those tornadoes. And then we moved our way north up into Indiana, where we currently sit.
Yeah, where it's predicted to be in the 20s at overnight. So
at least there's no tornadoes, but it's very cold.
Oh, don't say that. Yeah, it's cold. And that's okay. So this week, with all of this, there's a lady that we talk with online who chases storms, and she's a full-time RVer, and we thought, oh, what better time to invite Emily to join us. But before that, we have a few tips for you about this whole storm thing. And the first of those is know where you are.
Yes.
Right? So I know Peggy isn't as fond of this app as I am, but I use this app called Where Am I? And remember last week we said lessons learned from students in our classes. That's where I found it. And all it does is one thing, basically. You say, where am I? And it says you're 783 foot of elevation. I'm in Elkhart County.
It actually has
Indiana.
The address of where you are.
Yeah, it has the address.
The coordinates, the altitude, the county, the state, and the country, in case you're really confused.
In case you're like, what country am I in?
I just woke up from a 3-day bender. Where am I?
Anyway, so then I use this app to set this radio. So I use Where Am I to set our weather radio. And the weather radio, for the first time ever, I saw on the warning, the red lights light up.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. And there's also lights for watch and advisory. This weather radio, I think they're all similar in a lot of respects. It sounds an alarm that could wake the dead.
Yes.
When there's, when things are coming that are bad.
When there's something that you need to be warned about.
It'll run on batteries. This one in particular, 3 AA's, and we use rechargeables just because we do. Am I going to poke you with the antenna?
Eye
out. It'll warn you. You can set it what it warns you about. It does this.
Now here is the forecast. Rest of today, mostly cloudy. A slight chance of snow showers late this morning, then a chance of snow showers with a slight chance of rain showers this afternoon. Breezy with highs in the lower 40s.
Anyway, so you can have it say the weather to you and all of that. But I like the warning, and it has a AC adapter.
And a battery backup, obviously.
Yeah, and a battery backup.
Keep it charged as much as possible.
And anyway, I think these are we'll put a link to that unit in the show notes. I think it's worth having.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Did you just do our gadget report at the beginning of the episode?
I guess I did. I've got it all backwards. I'm twisted like a tornado.
Apparently he's reading the notes from the bottom up.
Yeah, well, hey, bottoms up. Today is National Beer Day.
Ah.
So, yeah, bottoms up.
Yeah, I guess so. Why don't we go back on script?
Okay, let's do that.
We have been making our way northward. And some of the nights especially when there was a tornado, we were happy to be in a place where we knew there was a shelter. But not every night did we stay in a campground.
No, gosh, no.
Because we really like to stay off grid and do some boondocking and stay at really interesting harvest host place. And we can do all that. Why?
Well, because of our Master Volt power system from ABC Upfitters. And one of the questions that I've heard a lot is, okay, so you've got 2 or 3 days of stinky weather and it's cloud. Like today, this system, I think a lot of people say, oh, you have a great solar system. We do. But what happens on a day like this where we are getting, not much sun,
not too much sun,
and all of that, and our furnace is running more than normal? Well, we have a thing called a DC to DC charger. And what ABC Upfitters did is they rigged our truck with this DC to DC charger, which I believe they say is about the equivalent of 1,000 watts of solar running optimally. So when we're driving down the road, we can plug our truck into the trailer. It's more than the 7-pin. It's what's called an Anderson connector. And it's fat wires on either end. And our truck has a very beefy alternator. But we plug the truck into the trailer and it can charge our battery system. There was one day where we were stationary and I plugged the truck into the trailer and just idled the truck for, 40 minutes, whatever it was. So I no longer bring a generator with me.
Right.
Well, I do.
It's just under the hood of the truck.
It's a 6.4 liter V8. So anyway, that's another option. And one of the things that really illustrates when you contact ABC Upfitters, they will work with you to tailor a system that matches your camping style. And now they have very affordable drop-in battery systems.
For you, Patty.
Yeah. They have, like our friend Patrick, they have a not-so systems that they can build. So really, it's more you tell them, all right, this is what we can do, and they will build a system for you. But also know that, let's say you camp more, and you're like, well, this system isn't meeting all my needs, they can go back later and upgrade it. And so if that's the kind of reliable, customizable system that appeals to you, you can call our friends at ABC Upfitters at 574-333-3225.
Say it with me, 574-333-3225, or you can check them out at abcupfitters.com.
Well, this week we spoke with Emily Wolf about chasing storms, and that's what she does.
That's what she does. That's what we don't do.
No, we want to be the opposite of Emily.
So, but here's my main takeaway. We may not like to be in a storm, but occasionally it's going to happen. And we should just get a little bit more educated, and that's what we did by talking to Emily. We become more educated so that at least when things happen, when the proverbial stuff hits the proverbial fan, we at least know what to do to keep ourselves safe. So let's hear from Emily. Today we're very excited to be joined by Emily Wolf from Have You Been? And if you've been following Tony and my travels, you know that we've been running away from storms. But Emily actually is the opposite. Emily chases those storms. And so we wanted to ask her kind of some maybe safety tips if you want to be a chaser, or safety tips if you want to be a runner. So Emily, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, of course.
And taking some time out of your day. And we really appreciate that you are here with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I have to ask, you're an RVer, of course, which is one of the reasons you've joined us. But most of us, when we hear the tornado siren or any, we see, oh, the weather's going to be lousy, we are like, okay, how do we get to where the weather's better? But you are just the opposite. So what got you interested in following these severe weather circumstances?
Yeah, I got interested in meteorology back when I was in 7th grade. And I've always had an interest for tornadoes. And so did my husband. And back during COVID, so in 2020, that's when we started chasing. We just wanted a new adventure. We wanted to see what we could find, see what would happen. And I'm a photographer. So it's always fun to get weather shots. And we just became hooked. And we absolutely love it. So we chase tornadoes and we chase lightning storms.
Okay.
Wow. So chasing tornadoes, have you ever been in a circumstance where you're kind of like, uh-oh?
It's funny. Actually, a couple years ago, we got stuck in the tail end of a tornado. And that was the most interesting experience I think I've ever had. Especially, it was just me and my husband, and we were in the interstate, and all of a sudden, it was right in front of us. And it's this huge branch, had to be at least 6 feet, started coming towards us, and it stopped right in front of the SUV, and that's when the tornado stopped. And it was an EF0, so it wasn't as strong as a lot of the other ones lately, but it was a very amazing and thrilling experience.
Wow.
Wow. And how long have you been doing that? You had mentioned COVID, but how long have you been chasing these storms?
So since 2020, so 5 years.
That was it. Okay.
Okay.
So I think before we go too much farther, can you explain that EF0 and that, scoring?
Yeah.
The scoring to us?
So tornadoes are going to be ranked based on, it's a little tricky, and this is what throws a lot of people off, is it's the wind speed when it's on the ground. So the wind speed at the ground of the tornado. So as the tornado's moving on the ground, it depends on how much with that wind speed and how much damage it can cause.
Okay.
So a lot of people will be like, oh, the wind speed, or it's so huge, it had to be at least an E4. And then they get very surprised when it's like an E2 or an E3. And that is because the wind speed at the ground of the tornado was not strong enough.
Because it's a combination of the wind, it's not just the wind speed, it's the wind speed at the ground. So it can be different at different, I guess, parts, different heights of the tornado.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Who's out there with a speed measuring device saying, hang on, I think this is an E4, but I'm about to kiss my behind goodbye.
So a lot of times, like the extreme chasers, they a lot of times work for either the National Weather Service or AccuWeather or My Radar, and they will have the special equipment and that they'll drop it. So when a tornado goes through, they're able to get like the readings and everything and see like what the pressure was, the wind speed. But also a lot of times what will happen is after a tornado happens, usually the next day weather surveyors will go out and they were able to see based on the damage that was caused by the tornado what the rating was.
Huh. Interesting.
And so E0 to E4, is that the full scale, or was that like
E5.
only halfway up?
So it's
E5.
Yeah,
okay.
It's E0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. So we were actually in Kentucky when we apparently, I didn't hear this at the time, but apparently a tornado was right above us. Things were really calm, and I knew that didn't mean it was over. I just knew that things were calm, and that kind of isn't a good sign. But then later, Tony said, the woman who was familiar with tornadoes that was with us said, it's right above us. Let's hope it doesn't touch down. So I didn't realize how, I thought, I don't know what I thought. It just was farther away. Mm-hmm. I know that calm means you're in the middle, right? But I think I didn't want to understand at the time. So they don't they're not always on the ground, if this is right. They spin around up there in the sky, and then once in a while they dip down for a drink of destruction.
That's a good way of putting it. So basically what happens is you'll get a wall cloud. And those are those clouds that are going to be lower. And then the funnel cloud forms from the wall cloud. So you had a funnel cloud right over you. So and then when it's a touchdown, that's the tornado, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So it's not a tornado till it's like down there messing us up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it was this lady was, I guess she worked for the Red. It's just coincidence that she was staying at the RV park we were at, and she had her Red Cross outfit on and all that. And she, at the end, she went out and she's like, "Oh, look at how the grass is laid down. The tornado was pretty, or the, you know, whatever was pretty much here."
Yeah.
And all I could think about, honestly, was not for my own personal safety or anything other than having to call Rockwood and say, "You'll never believe this, but we just destroyed another trailer." That was what was in my mind.
Emily, I don't know if you're familiar, but in 2022, we had 2 Rockwoods get totaled from different, not our fault circumstances.
Right.
But we are like, every time we get the tiniest scratch, we're like, "Oh no, Rockwood's going to beat us up for ruining another trailer."
I'm not thinking of my own safety. I'm thinking, okay, how do I call Rockwood and say, "You're not going to believe this, but we just totaled another mini light."
Oh,
but we didn't have
but
to.
We didn't. All was
Fortunately.
well.
Yeah,
in terms of that.
we survived. We're still here.
Yeah. So I have appreciated that you have been posting on the, actually, I have to give a shout out to the RV Miles group, because that's the one that we're going to talk you into joining our group too, so you can help us. But
Perfect.
In the RV Miles group, you've been posting kind of, daily, like if you're in this area, this is the danger you're in. And I know that you're sharing Ryan Hall, y'all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that that's one of the ones that you follow weather-wise, and a lot of RVers really like Ryan Hall, y'all, YouTube channel, and then just general weather channels. And is that just something such a fascination that you just kind of look at those all the time? Or I mean, not all the time. There aren't always tornadoes, but
Thankfully.
With everything that is happening today, and everything, all the cuts that have happened with the National Weather Service and everything, I share usually those links because those are the extreme chasers in the extreme chaser groups, like Ryan Hall and his team, are going to be giving you the most accurate information. A lot of times what happens is you'll see like, oh, there's a tornado warning, there's a severe thunderstorm warning. If there is not a chaser or a spotter on that storm, a lot of times the radar won't pick up if there's like a EF0 or an EF1 on the ground, unless somebody is on that tornado and reporting it. So that's a lot of times why I will share those links, because I don't want anybody to not, I don't want anybody to be in the way of a tornado and nobody knows it's there.
So have you been, we unfortunately, every time you shared one of those maps, I realized that we were not only in the path of a tornado warning, but also the storm. It's been a long term, like it's been a week that there's been just rain and storms and stuff. Yep. And the route that storm has taken is exactly the route that we have been driving for the past week.
Oh, she's not kidding.
I am not kidding. Every time you post one, I'm like, oh man, we have no choice but to go right back into the eye of that.
Right.
So I'm glad that the tornado part was only like that one day. And then, we've been dealing with a lot of rain, which we hate coming from the desert Southwest.
Yeah.
But, at least I'm not in fear anymore.
Don't forget that it's getting to the low 20s now here in Indiana.
Right.
And there's also rain predicted, which will make the roads extra fun to drive on. I love pulling the trailer when the road is slick.
So from from the standpoint of chasing a tornado, I'm sure you get right into the danger zone when you can, but you weren't in Paducah, Kentucky last Tuesday, right?
Correct. I'm in Massachusetts right now.
Yeah. So you just kind of watch from afar and keep apprised and know what's going on. But then and it's not like you can plan like, hey, next month there's going to be a tornado in Kentucky. Let's move down there for the month. So how often do you get to be right there in the action?
The last time we were right in action, it's been a while. So it was when we were in Savannah. So last winter we were in Savannah for 6 months, and we've actually been in Massachusetts now for almost a year, which is a lot longer than I have wanted to be here. So we're hoping this summer we'll get back into an area where we can do a lot of tornado chasing. And you know, everybody used to say, okay, Tornado Alley, it's going to be Oklahoma, Texas, and that has totally shifted east now. And that's
that was another question I had. A lot of people were saying that, like somebody that was in the shelter with us in Kentucky.
Yep.
Grew up in Oklahoma, and they're like, we thought we were moving out of the zone, and the zone just kind of moved with us.
It's absolutely crazy. And especially the storm the other day, I had never seen anything like that before. When we did our spotter training for the South Carolina, Georgia area, like they even said they could not believe that how far east Tornado Alley has moved. So it's just crazy how that's all happened, especially in the last few years.
Yeah. So do you think that it's just going to keep moving east and eventually just
maybe it'll blow the ocean,
the United States, and we won't have tornadoes anymore?
Then Emily will become a boater.
With the way the water temperatures have been in the Gulf, that's one of the reasons why it has been worse, at least in my opinion, more towards the east, because when you have all that water, all the warm water, and all that energy in the Gulf, and it's, moving up into, like the Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, and then that keeps going northeast, that's one of the reasons why there has been so many more issues for that part of the country. So I personally don't see it calming down anytime soon.
I think I heard you say a minute ago, spotter training?
Yep.
So is this a profession, a really organized hobby? I always just kind of figured it was a few random people in the United States who were crazy enough to get close to a tornado.
So there's spotters and then there's chasers, right? So I'm a storm chaser with my husband. Spotters are usually those people who are at their own house or at their own RV, or they don't chase the storms, but when they have a storm coming in, and you can take a class with your local chapter of the NOAA, and they teach you everything in a 2-hour period, sometimes 3 hours, so 2 to 3 hour period of how to report. Also, they teach you every part of the storm. So they'll teach you about tornadoes, wind speed, lightning, hail, and they teach you what you need to look for. So then when you become a spotter, when you finish that, let's say you have a storm headed your way and you all of a sudden have hail falling, you can report that. And that is a lot of times, if the radar isn't picking it up, how they're able to tell when a storm goes from not severe to severe, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So is a tornado like temperature dependent, or can there be tornadoes on 80-degree days and also different days that are hail, or is there always rain, or are they is there a large variety?
Can you tell we grew up in the Southwest?
Yeah, can you tell we lived in California? We have no idea about tornadoes.
Previous experience with tornadoes as we watched Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, yeah.
So tornadoes basically happen depending on how much energy is going to be in the atmosphere. That's the big thing with tornadoes. You can have tornadoes and hardly have any rain or hail. Usually, though, when you have a tornado, you're going to have larger hail. So I have seen hail drop as big as like tennis balls, which is absolutely crazy. But it happens. You can have tornadoes without rain. A lot of the times, though, what will happen when there's a lot of moisture with these storms is the tornadoes will be rain wrapped. So you'll see like a whole bunch of rain dropping, but you won't be able to see the tornado, if that makes sense.
So my previous experience with all this was, as I said, in the Southwest, we get those dust devils that
Yep.
I always said, oh, look, it's a desert tornado. Are they related? And I mean, it's spinny air, but
No, a lot of times, like the dust devils are usually okay with wind speed and everything. Then like you'll get like the water spouts. So tornadoes that form over water are going to be the water spouts. And then even with, the wildfires, if you have a wildfire that is so strong, and it happens more so in the ones that are hardly contained and are not as strong. So like the ones with California, was that a couple of months ago? They will form these fire tornadoes. So it is all basically dependent on how much energy is going to be in the atmosphere.
Okay.
wow.
Eesh. So we kind of have had them because we lived through a lot of fires, but luckily we didn't know.
But are there sharknadoes?
Oh, as your professional opinion.
Oh, man.
Is that a water spout that picks up a shark? We did hear actually when we were in Kentucky, they were talking about tornadoes that have like over a pond or a lake or something that have like sucked the lake dry.
Or at least sucked up a bunch of water.
And then it rains fish.
I mean,
part of the cleanup is cleaning up the fish so they don't stink.
Yeah.
Right. I think the biggest thing, and this is why I, especially in that group, why I report, hey, if you guys are in this area, get to know your safety zone. A lot of times people will not realize that, hey, there is a storm coming, or else they'll be like, it's just a storm. We've had storms before. It's not going to be that bad. Or people hear, it's just an EF0, so it's only got 90-mile-per-hour winds. And then the whole with the hurricanes, they're like, oh, it's only going to be a 0. It's only going to be a 1 or a 2 or a 3. What people need to realize, when people give a prediction for a storm, they are telling you what basically the best case scenario is going to be. So like, let's say you are RVing down in Florida and there is a hurricane coming up from the Gulf, because that did happen last year a couple times. And they're like, it's forecasted to be like a category 1 or 2. And people are like, oh, that's not bad, yada, yada. What people need to understand, and especially for, in my opinion, those who are in RVs, is that when they say that, that's going to be the best case scenario. But what you don't realize is there's a chance it's going to get to a category 4 or a category 5, or there's going to be stronger tornadoes if it's just a tornado storm. Or there's not going to be that much rain. They say 2 to 5 inches, but chances are it's going to be a lot worse. I would hate for anybody out there, especially if you're RVing, and I hate to say especially RVing because I don't want to favor that, is that when people start telling you, hey, this is what these models are looking like, you should get prepared now if possible. Is that once these storms hit, it is going to be very hard for you to get out of.
Right.
When we are in our RV and we see that there is a storm that's going to be coming, we know to take that seriously, especially if it's like a week or two out. That we need to pay attention to that in case it does get bad enough that we need to get our RV out of there. Because as these storms are getting more powerful, it will be a lot harder for people to get out of the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also like sure, a tornado might only last a few minutes, whatever. Oh, that wasn't so bad. But then the power outages and the flooding, we're still under flood warnings, like I said, all the way from Kentucky up to Indiana.
Yep.
Because there's still rain. And okay, so the tornado's done blowing, but that doesn't mean that the storm is done. And we happened to visit a roadside attraction that morning before the tornado, and when we talked to him just a couple of days ago, the wind blew their
it literally pulled their electrical box off the side of the house.
So they were without power.
It's not funny.
It's not funny, but it's like, yeah, okay. It blew for a minute. We all sat in the basement eating Oreos, and now it's all done. Well, not for everybody. It's not all done.
Right.
Yeah. The cleanup was, we were driving around and the number of downed trees. So, hey, tornadoes, get rid of all the trees in campgrounds. Thanks.
Penny's not a big fan of trees because they blow down and hit your trailer.
Yeah.
I get it.
I like trees. I just don't want them in campground. I love trees.
We are going into this year is going to be horrible for storms. We're already seeing that. Tornado season used to only really last from April to June, July, and it's now becoming a more year-round issue. And that's why I always say to RVers, especially if you're going to be in one area long enough, at least a month to 3 months, take the spotter classes, become a weather spotter, and that way you know what to look for to help keep you and your family and your rigs all safe,
And where do you find out about the classes?
Yeah, that's going to be all on the NOAA website. They have offices all over the country. And you can find those weather spotter classes on your local NOAA website.
Okay.
We have an app that we use from NOAA. That's our favorite weather app.
Yeah, called Climb.
Called Climb.
Okay.
So I'll find those classes and I'll put some links on the show notes.
Look.
Oh boy, look at all that rain.
I know. We've had 2 or 3 days of on and off rain here in Massachusetts, and I am ready for it to be over. That's for sure.
Yeah, we are, like we said, we're not really big fans of rain. Like, I know that it's very important to have it, but why do we have to have it when I'm awake?
Right. I know that I need to get a shot from the dock for, whatever. Doesn't mean I have to like it, just like rain.
Yep, totally understand. Totally get it.
Emily, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
We would like to know where you're traveling so we don't go there. Not that we don't want to meet you in person, but,
Because we know you're looking for those storms and we want to get away from them. I think, though, that really this has been really helpful because I understand things more. And honestly, taking that spotter course, doesn't mean I'm going to go out and try to find them, but it means when something comes to me, I'll be a little bit more confident knowing what to look for, what to expect, when to panic, because I will, but.
Right. Awesome. No, this has been great. And more people need to understand weather. The other thing I did want to say is you don't have to become a chaser to be able to report the weather. If you have never chased a tornado before, if you have no meteorology experience before, then I definitely recommend do not chase a storm. Just be a spotter. And if you see extreme chase or re-timmer in your area, that's when you know that you got major weather coming your way.
Okay.
So some people are going to want to be like Emily and her family and go, when they can, go where they might, get to chase. Some of us, though, just having this amount of knowledge and knowing that, this could go on until June or July. So we want to go back to the West. We want to go back and not come back here because we, if you're informed, then when, we said, oh, sure, we'll just run off to Indiana in April. No problem. No big deal. Not giving any thought to the fact that there might be, weather issues. And so if you're more informed, at least you can make those decisions and not say, why did we let ourselves get into something we didn't expect?
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, it's always good to be more informed.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and the movie that for some reason my brain would not think of earlier was Twister. So in the movie Twister, when they had like those sensors.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the extreme chasers will chase the tornado, especially if they work for like AccuWeather or the NOAA, so they can get those readings from inside of the tornado.
Right.
Yep.
Leave that job to the real professionals.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for taking time. I feel a little better about understanding things. I know that we'll not take an assignment in March in Kentucky anytime soon again.
Yeah.
But again, now we know. Now my go bag has been packed, and with unfortunately the snacks that we wanted in the truck yesterday, I was like, "Where are the beef sticks?" And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, they're in the go bag." Getting ready for an evacuation.
But that was good. I mean, I was really impressed with the job you did with that. Well, Emily, thank you again for your time, and we do hope we catch you on the road at some point.
During non-tornado season.
Yeah.
Yes, non-tornado and hurricane season.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, safe travels, and thank you again.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me. This has been fun, and if you ever have any more weather questions, feel free to let me know.
Sounds great.
Will do.
Hopefully you got something good from Emily. Our experience when we were in Tennessee, was it Tennessee?
Kentucky.
Okay. Our experience when we were in Kentucky, we did not get any fried chicken, first of all, which is a big bummer.
Well, you didn't.
But we're at this campground, and they said, if you hear the tornado sirens, come to this shelter.
Yeah.
And we did. We heard the sirens. We're like, phooey. Peggy packed a go bag, and you have an article about that, right?
I do. I hope so. I think so. But I knew since early after. Actually, we knew the day we checked in, the day before. They said, "Do you know that weather's coming? And are you okay with being here?" And we said, we'd rather be here where we already know what to do than to be on the road somewhere and then try to figure out where to take shelter in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
So. So I had kind of all afternoon to really give it some thought. We have a go bag, but honestly, we don't always keep it very well organized or packed. And so I made sure that it had what we thought we would need for, she said sometimes up to 10 hours. So I thought, well, we're going to get hungry in 10 hours and we're going to get sleepy. So I put some snacks in there. I put some, and I had gone down to the basement to see where it was. That was where we sheltered, and it was really chilly. So I put some sweaters, and I got our little throw blankets.
Yeah, it had been shorts weather before that.
And so, I got, and she said, bring chairs because there aren't really any places to sit in this just empty, unfinished basement. So we had our chairs ready to go. We had our go bag. We had everything ready. They told us it could happen anywhere between 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. that we might, or 11 p.m. that we might hear the siren. So we worked furiously to get the podcast ready.
Yeah.
And got that all done.
Yeah,
and
that's
literally
true.
had sort of like just finished getting all that office stuff done and having our dinner. We washed our dishes, but we didn't take our after dinner vitamins. Like that's the timing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, both of our phones, the weather radio, the sirens in the neighborhood, everything started telling us to get down to that basement.
Yeah.
And so we did.
So we did. And there was, fortunately, I think we talked about this with Emily too. There was a lady just happened to stay at the campground who was a Red Cross volunteer or
I think
team
she
member.
works for Red Cross, and she is more of a logistician, the logistics of, what happens after a disaster. But, everybody who works there, if they need immediate, cleanup or assistance or first response, I think everyone on the team is part of that team.
And I believe she had a real understanding of tornadoes. So at one point, we had this sliding glass door in the base that accessed the basement, and the sliding glass door was open. She's standing there and looking, and she's like, oh, this, oh, that. All of a sudden, she's like, uh-oh. Slams the door and comes to the back of
over to the part of the away from the glass.
Said, right now, nobody go near the glass. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not good.
Yeah. So apparently what we learned from Emily, it wasn't a tornado because it didn't touch down on us, but a funnel cloud, anyway, it was above us. A twisty air was above us, but it didn't. We were lucky that it just stayed in the air and it didn't come down.
Yeah, lucky.
So,
yeah, we're still here.
Yeah.
Anyway, preparation, as always, preparation is good.
It's going to be a while before I let that go bag get so unpacked and unprepared again.
Well, especially since we talk about it in some of our workshops.
Do. And, I think I have a new appreciation for go bags. It used to be like, my mindset was the reason you need a go bag is in the middle of the night your RV catches fire and you have to escape.
Which is legitimate.
It's legitimate, but it's not the only reason that you need a go bag, right? And so this go bag was more, we may be spending 10 hours away from the trailer. But of course I did not let my mind say if there's no trailer to go back to, because then I'd want to pack everything in one bag, right? Everything we might ever want out of this trailer, if the trailer was to get lifted up and left in a tree somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I didn't let myself think that way. And because everything except lives are replaceable, right?
That's true.
So I took the things that I figured we'd want during an extended period of time in a chilly basement.
Yep. Well, on a more positive note, while we were there, we visited Apple Valley, Hillbilly Garden, and Toyland.
Yes, indeed.
So we have a new segment that we want to have on the podcast called Goofy USA. Because as you know, we travel for the ridiculous, roadside attractions, funny Americana, things like that. So, some people are like, oh, I want to go out all the national parks, or, oh, I want to go hiking. And for us, it's like, how stupid is that on the side of the road? Because we want to see it.
Yeah, we don't hike. In fact, someone just asked for some advice the other day. And I was like, well, you can see this giant statue and you can see that, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, but I like to hike with my dog. And I'm like, oh, you're asking the wrong person.
Nope, not us. This Apple Valley Hillbilly Garden and Toyland, first of all, I guess it was a property this dude inherited. Mm-hmm. And he started to put kind of yard art, and the neighbors didn't like it. So then he decided, well, it's going to become an art installation. But the core of this is, this man is the king of puns.
Oh, gosh.
Don't go anywhere close to as punny as this gentleman is.
Now, maybe, he's had a lot of time to practice and come up with a different pun, but I swear every, installation in that yard, every work of art had a really great story and or a ridiculous pun to go along with it.
And in the yard, he had buried lawnmowers like the Cadillac Ranch. He had a toilet, Stonehenge. Throne-henge. There was a trailer decked out like a spaceship. Mm-hmm. There's working things. There's fountains. He has this huge pile of cans, and he called it Kansas.
But over in the northern part of it, it was Canada.
I mean, it just went on and on like this, and I just loved it.
It was fantastic.
It was so fun.
It was so much fun. And the owner and his wife, I think they take turns doing tours, but he wasn't really busy. So his wife started the tour and then he joined in. So we got like double pun. Well, there was the same pun. It just sometimes they told him a little bit differently.
Yeah. It's just on and on. And if you're ever in Paducah, Kansas, do go to this.
Where?
Paducah, Kentucky.
And it's actually technically in Calvert City, which is very, very close to Paducah. But, I mean, even the Calvert City, the KOA in Calvert City is called the Paducah KOA. So, but anyway, it is, don't take your RV there because there's no place to park.
No, don't take your RV to Hillbilly Garden.
But that's what I mean.
There's plenty
Definitely take it to Paducah KOA. They are awesome there.
Yeah, they really are. The other thing that's in this place is a house, I guess. And the entire house, well, it's a big room.
A building, yeah.
Full of toys. I mean,
amazing.
Almost anything you can imagine.
Things I had no idea were ever toys. Like I saw action figures of like the Gunsmoke characters, from the TV show, right? And I know they were like Barbie size, but they were Gunsmoke characters. There was
a
every
whole
show
collection
ever.
of Pee Wee Herman stuff. There were Batmans. There was an entire upper shelf that surrounded the room that was Star Wars stuff.
Every toy like ever invented, and so, like literally some of them like brought back memories, and some of them were like, I don't know what that is, and some of them were like, I had no idea that this was ever a toy.
Yeah,
it was such. I could have spent hours in there. We just didn't have it because the wind was already starting to blow.
Yeah, exactly.
And we knew that we had to get home and prepare.
But we had stayed an extra day just to see this. It was totally worth it.
It was totally worth it.
And it's donation, but he even has, I guess, when his grandfather had the property, they had a little gas station, like, honestly, not really bigger than this trailer.
I think not as big as this trailer.
I think you're right.
But yeah, it was a gas station. It was a little, kind of a small convenience general store. It was a 4-seat diner.
Yeah, where they made fried chicken. So there was a little kitchen.
They made a chicken dinner, and everybody, that's what you got.
Yeah.
You didn't get a menu, you got a chicken dinner.
Correct.
But it was just every inch of that property was a fascinating story, and it was something that we could have spent so much more time hanging out, and we, it's a place I would go back to because I know that even though they walked us around and told us about every little thing, I didn't catch it all. I didn't see everything.
No.
I'd wander off and look at something, and Tony would laugh, and I'd be, darn it, I missed a pun.
Yeah, it was really true roadside Americana.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was truly Goofy USA.
Well, okay, so we've done a heck of a lot of traveling. We have a giant pile of laundry to do. And some of the things we're not completely prepared for. So that's going to be our episode for today.
That's
all
right.
All those other things you're waiting for. You're waiting desperately to hear a new question of the week.
I don't know about that.
Just go and answer last week's again.
Yeah, well, it's still there.
There aren't that many answers, and I really want answers to this question.
It's basically about Goofy USA.
Yeah.
It's roadside Americana. Does your town have something in it that would qualify as goofy or unique or just roadside Americana?
Or just something that people would pull over. They don't even have to stop and get out of the car. Something that would make people detour around the block to take a picture as they drive by. Just something...
Or us.
Silly, right? Just something goofy.
Yeah, and that's in our StressLess Campers Facebook community. So a fun, friendly place to be. Another thing, did you know we do a once-a-week newsletter that's absolutely free with links to the stories, videos, and podcasts that we think will help you get the most out of your stressless camping experience.
All you have to do is visit the website, and on any page you will find a place that says sign up for the newsletter. Please know that it's a once a week newsletter. It reminds you that the podcast is out. It gives you links and stories to other things that we've seen in the RV world, but it's once a week because, did I just say we have a lot of laundry to do? We don't have time to be writing newsletters.
Oh gosh. You can find the show notes for this episode, number 302, on the podcast page at StressLessCamping.com. And that's also where you'll find our favorite RV products and services page, which has the things you'll need on your stressless camping adventure, including deals and discounts.
And of course, if you ever finish looking at all the things on our website and you still want some social time, jump off to all those social places where we are and check us out in those locations as well.
Yep, and if you don't want to miss a future episode of the StressLess Camping Podcast, it is free to subscribe on any podcast app or now on YouTube. Yep. We are saving you a seat around our virtual campfire.
Please know and remember that a review will help others find the podcast, and it just helps us a lot. It tells those podcast places, those YouTube channels, that people are watching and people are listening and people want more, and so they will listen to you so that you can listen to us. I just made that up pretty clever.
That's good. Share something you liked. Don't forget to share things you find on our website with your social followers and all of that. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you being here with us, and hopefully you are out there enjoying StressLess Camping.
We hope you learned a lot and had some fun and got some tips for your next stressless camping adventure. We're honored by your reviews on Apple Podcasts, which helps others find us too. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on the adventure, and we look forward to your joining us next week. Until then, happy camping!